This is Joshua Hart here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by McKenzie MBE here over Zoom this evening. Duke, first of all, really appreciate your time this evening. And how is everything?
Thanks, Josh. Thanks for inviting me on, Josh. I appreciate it.
Always good. It's always good to have you on the channel. There's probably no better time to bring you on than at the start of what is a big week in the boxing world, especially here in the UK. We see undisputed heavyweight action for the first time on British soil as Oleksandr Usyk and Daniel Dubois meet again in the main event at Wembley Stadium this Saturday night. How does Daniel need to approach this fight in order to overturn his defeat from the first fight?
Listen, you know what? This is heavyweight boxing, right? And of course, he's in with a shout because he's a murderous puncher, Daniel Dubois. Yeah, a lot's been made of his newfound confidence and the way that he carries himself and the way that he actually projects himself in public now, which will tell you that he's got a different sort of state of mind. You know, I'm only going to echo what I've said previously. If Daniel Dubois was fighting anybody else, I'd back him to win, 100%. But in Oleksandr Usyk, because when I watch Usyk fight, and I've studied him, he's a cruiserweight coming up to the heavyweight division, but he's carried his cruiserweight speed. Nothing's changed with Usyk. He does the same things at cruiserweight, and now he's doing the same thing in the heavyweight division. So Daniel Dubois, for me, to win this fight, he's got to make it into an absolute bloodbath. He's not going to get a points decision against Oleksandr Usyk because he's not going to outbox him for the 12 rounds. It could be a closer fight than their first fight, which obviously ended quite controversially for different reasons. However, Oleksandr Usyk, at the end of their first fight, his hand was raised as the winner. And I don't know if Daniel Dubois has, let's say, the mental sort of fortitude to carry him for 12 rounds. 12 rounds is a long time when you're fighting somebody like Usyk. Usyk reminds me in some ways, with his tactical approach, the feints that he showed you, like he'll show you a right hand, hit you with a left uppercut. He'll show you a right hook, he'll hit you with a jab. He feints, he twitches. There's a lot of movement going on from Daniel Dubois. And if you ask any of the guys that Usyk's beaten, there's 7 times he's come over here. We should change his name to the Magnificent Seven because he's been over here 7 times. He's left the Ukraine, and 7 times he's gone home a winner. And that's not luck. It's not luck. That's a sign of class. And I'm a big fan of Oleksandr Usyk. I'm a big fan of Daniel Dubois. He's won me over because his attitude is right where it should be. The fact that he's trying to convince himself even now that he can win the fight, speaking from experience, that's like a bit of a red flag for me, if you see what I mean. When you're still trying to convince yourself, you're still saying to yourself, you wouldn't expect him to say anything less. I'm going to win, I'm going to smash him, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. You don't expect him to say anything less. However, how far does that belief actually go? Because when you have to rely on your corner and you have to rely on your coach and all the people around you, your team, as he keeps saying, my team have got me in great shape and my team are going to organise and orchestrate, the mother of all plans to beat Usyk. Well, let's get it right. They've tried 7 times previously. 7 different teams have tried and they've gone home a loser every time. So it's like Usyk, he's a real maverick in this whole heavyweight shake-up. He's almost like a comedian because he changes his spots. And 1 minute he's in front of you, the next minute he's not in front of you. He shows you a jab, he backs up, he moves in, he goes left to right. He does a lot of moves quite brilliantly. And like I say, I'm going to emphasise the point. He could probably make cruiserweight still. I bet if he really tried, he could make cruiserweight. So it's taken a cruiserweight to move to the heavyweight division and terrorise all of the heavyweights because that's what he's doing. I expect him to beat Dubois at the weekend because I still don't think we've seen the best of Usyk. Daniel Dubois, I think, will bring out the best of Oleksandr Usyk on Saturday night. A lot's been said with Dubois when they're going, they can see from his gym, they can see the Wembley Towers. They're that close to fighting at Wembley. It's home for him. Dubois, that's a real confident statement to make. But Oleksandr Usyk is equally at home over here, fighting over here, as he would be in the Ukraine. I mean, he travels well. He travels well. You don't see him in close fights. The guy's unbeaten. We don't know how good he is because nobody's beaten him. And more to the point, nobody's come close to beating him. I think he is a modern day great. I think he retires undefeated. I expect him to go home with the belts at the weekend. I don't think there'll be any skullduggery involved. There won't be any dodgy decisions involved. Usyk knows how to read a fight. He knows when he's ahead, and he knows if indeed he would be behind. He knows how to go through the gears. And like I say, I think Daniel Dubois will bring out the best in Usyk at the weekend. I think the worst thing Dubois can do to Usyk at the weekend is to cut him, because if Oleksandr Usyk knows that he's cut and the chips are down, then he'll come out all guns blazing, because he'll know that the title could slip away from him, via a cut. If it's got to be a bad cut, mind you, and for them to stop the fight. But if he gets cut, then anything could happen. But that's the only way I see Dubois winning, is if he makes it into a bloodbath, the cut's so bad, and the referee intervenes and stops the fight.
People have raised concerns with Oleksandr Usyk recently, obviously amidst the split with Alex Krasov, long-time promoter of his. What do you make of this situation? Do you believe it shows that there are possibly signs that Usyk maybe not right now, but he's considering having one foot out the door and leaning towards retirement?
Well, he's already stated that he only wants a couple of more fights. I think he said that he wants the Dubois fight and then his last fight potentially to be in Ukraine. Now, I think he's far too professional to take his eyes off the prize. And let me explain why. When you're this close to retiring undefeated, you don't have one foot out the door, one foot in the door, thinking about the retirement and my pension plan and how much money I'm going to retire with and that kind of thing. He's far too professional. He'll want to beat Daniel Dubois much more convincingly in this return fight than he did in the first fight. I don't really know how Daniel Dubois is going to approach this fight, but he can't start off tentatively, and I don't think he's going to start off quiet. I expect him to come out like a bull in a china shop and absolutely chase and hound Usyk, for as long as this fight lasts. But there lies the problem, because as he starts to ascend and he starts to let his hands go, Daniel Dubois can be hit. He's not the best mover in the world when it comes to head movement. Unless his style has changed so dramatically, they come out with a style where Dubois got a lot of head movement, he's blocking shots, he's slipping shots, and he's countering constantly, he's counterpunching Usyk constantly, then, this is going to be a repeat performance of what he produced in their first fight. So, which Usyk's used to. Usyk's used to beating big guys, big, strong guys. He's done it once, he'll do it again. Daniel Dubois' size and power probably won't bother him as much as what they feel it will. I think anything that gives Usyk problems earlier on, it will be Dubois' natural youth and aggression, because he's going to come, to fight. And I know Usyk's used to that, but it's the manner of how Dubois brings the fight to Usyk. He's got to fight ugly. He's got to make this fight ugly. I'm telling you, this is what I would do if I was Daniel Dubois and I was fighting Oleksandr Usyk. I'd make this fight so ugly. I mean, I'd hit him low. I'd put the nut on him. I would do everything I possibly could to take this guy out of his stride, if that were me. Which I'm sure these kind of tactics have come through Dubois' mind, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're the tactics that he uses.
Where do you believe Daniel's advantages do lie this week? And we know that something like size, which is usually the big advantage, doesn't bother someone like Oleksandr Usyk. So, away from that, where do you believe Daniel has the advantage?
I don't think he has an advantage. I don't think Daniel Dubois has an advantage over Usyk. Usyk will be the one with the advantage. The two main advantages that Usyk will have will be obviously being the southpaw that he is, the slick southpaw. That's an advantage over any orthodox fighter. And obviously his engine that he has, there's three advantages he has. He's got a great engine, he's a southpaw, and he has the victory over Dubois. I don't think Dubois got an advantage over Usyk, because he's lost to him legitimately in their first meeting, which is not going to give him an advantage. I really believe that Daniel Dubois is physically stronger than Usyk because he's a natural heavyweight. He's got an excellent jab, which I'm sure they'll apply. I'm sure you'll agree with that. Where Dubois is obviously going to be targeting the body because he may feel that Usyk is maybe susceptible to a body shot. Can't see it. Don't see that at all. They're far too professional, Usyk's team. And again, I don't think all of this, this what's being made of Oleksandr splitting from his promoter, that's not going to bother him. He's too professional. He's like your pro's pro, Usyk. He really is. And for any young cruiserweight heavyweight that wants to master the artistry of boxing, as in that weight division, then look no further than Oleksandr Usyk. Model your style on him. That's what I would say. His variety of punch for a heavyweight, cruiserweight, whatever he wants to fight, weight he wants to fight at, it's simply sublime. It really is. There aren't enough superlatives you can put on him, really, because when you look at it and you see what he's done to Dubois, what he's done to AJ, what he's done to Fury, what he's done to Bellew, you know, what he's done to Chisora, he outboxed all of these guys, and towards the end of the fight, he makes it look so comfortable, so easy, But he's not. He doesn't have that mindset and say to himself, I'm going to go into this and it's going to be easy. He makes it easy, because of his work ethic and the way that he carries himself, both inside and outside of the ring. If he didn't live the life that he lives, away from boxing, then I'd say there are miles on his clock. I'd say he was slipping. You could see the chinks in his armour. But everybody speaks of Oleksandr Usyk in the highest regard, both in the ring and outside of the ring, and how he conducts himself as a world champion.
Absolutely. While it is a brilliant main event, there has been a lot of heavy criticism thrown at the undercard of this show. What are your thoughts on the undercard at Wembley this weekend?
Well, I mean, it kind of. I think the undercard really, it's irrelevant. The undercard really is. I don't want to disrespect any of the fighters that are on the undercard, because this is a chance for them to showcase their skills and really sort of project themselves into the limelight of the public. But surely everybody that's going to be at this fight on Saturday night at Wembley Arena, they're going for the main event. So the undercard really, they could put a Mickey Mouse on the undercard. It wouldn't make any difference because the public are going to get what they want in the main event. I don't think the undercard really, it wouldn't matter who was on the undercard. People are only going to see the main event. They only want to see the main event. And the main event, I'm sure, won't let them down. It will live up to the expectation.
Do you believe some of the criticism is coming off the fact that obviously over these last few years, with the emergence of Riyadh season and the input from Turkey Al Sheikh, the fans have kind of started to get used to these mega cards that we've been seeing, and now that it's a show where there isn't as much of an involvement from Turkey Al Sheikh, we're not seeing those mega cards. Do you think that's what it could be from the fans and why they're not as impressed with this card?
Um, no, I just think people are probably disgruntled because they think that every fight, every card, you can have superstars on, and you can have all of the big names on one card. In reality, when you look at it in reality, that doesn't really work all of the time. You can't have all of the best fighters and all of the best cards. You need headliner fights, and then you need the undercard, the young up and coming fighters that are on undercards to build up their profile. You can't always have world title fights with 3, 4, 5 world title fights on one card. It doesn't always work like that, and it's refreshing that when we do get a bill like that, it makes it even more exciting. If that was the case, 3, 4, 5 times out of 10, then people would soon find something else to complain and moan about. There isn't anything to moan about in my eyes. I feel that anybody that goes to Wembley on Saturday night, they're going for the main event.